The Exolith Prime fleet had faced supernovas, time-folding pirates, and antimatter storms. But today, they faced a smiling human with a coffee mug and zero weapons visible. The Exolith Prime fleet had endured neutron storms, time-lock skirmishes, and an entire year fighting the rogue son of Pirax 7. They had seen worlds crumble. Yet nothing unsettled them quite like the man with the coffee mug. Commander Eli Vaughn stood on the bridge of the Verity Ascendant, smiling. Not a broad grin, just a gentle, disarming curve of the lips, like someone who'd shown up to a book club he wasn't invited to but brought cookies anyway. "Is it always this shiny?" he asked, glancing around the chrome-slicked command deck. "Or are you trying to impress someone?" High Strategist Vask of the Varkari exhaled, or did the species equivalent, a wet, clicking trill. "Human. Please refrain from sarcasm. This is a military operation, not a comedy recital." Eli sipped his coffee. "That explains the uniforms." The bridge crew, a mix of insectoid Tilex analysts and granite-skinned Crotian enforcers, exchanged glances. Eli noticed. He always did. He wasn't here to observe. He was here to watch them unravel. Omniscion, the Alliance's war calculation AI, had predicted a perfect outcome. 0 resistance. 0 casualties. 0 possibility of failure. The numbers had given the Alliance confidence. Unshakable, blind confidence. Eli had seen numbers lie before. "Just so I'm clear," he said casually, "you're deploying 72 warships, 17 landing units, and 2 orbital weapons platforms against a mining colony." "They are harboring rogue elements," Vask snapped. "Genetically enhanced, human-sponsored mercenaries. You know this." Eli raised his eyebrows. "Do I?" "Last I heard, they were just some stubborn terraformers who didn't like paying taxes. They've refused disarmament. And they've ignored 3 ultimatums." "That's basically Earth's foreign policy in the 80s, Eli said. "Did you try offering them Wi-Fi?" The Crotee general growled. He was massive, armored in battle plating that looked fused to his skin, and yet Eli treated him like a museum exhibit with poor lighting. "I don't like you, human," the Crotee hissed. "Fair," Eli said, setting down his mug. "I'm not a big fan of genocidal space lizards. But we can still be civil." Vask moved between them. "Commander Vaughn, your presence here is observational. Nothing more. You are not authorized to interfere." "Of course," Eli said. "I'm just here to see how your flawless plan works. Not offer advice. Wouldn't dream of it." Vask gestured toward the display. A shimmering map of the sector unfolded, thousands of tiny dots orbiting a single, barren moon. It looked like overkill. Because it was. "The attack begins in 2 standard minutes," Vask said. "Our prediction matrix remains unchanged, 0.00000% probability of counterattack. We will demonstrate that resistance to the Alliance is not only futile, it is statistically impossible." Eli leaned closer to the display. "Funny thing about statistics, the moment you trust them blindly, they become religion. And religions tend to burn the non-believers. You think your people are unpredictable?" "No," Eli said. "I think we're impossible." He said it without arrogance. Without emphasis. Like someone casually stating the weather was a bit muggy. Vask ignored him. "Deploy the first wave." The ships moved with mechanical precision, forming a tri-helix offensive posture. Plasma torpedoes lit the black with eerie blue, streaking toward the motionless moon. No shields activated. No return fire. Not even a comm signal. The first blast scorched half a mountain range. The second reduced a city, what was left of it, to glowing rubble. Still no response. Vask's mandibles twitched. "Something is wrong." "Define wrong," Eli said, eyes still on the moon. "Because if this is a successful mission, it's the quietest massacre I've seen." Suddenly, a Tilex analyst chirped. "Multiple fleet malfunctions. Deck 7 of Scion's Fist has vented atmosphere. Light of Dominion lost power to nav systems." "Sabotage." Vask demanded. "Unknown. Internal anomalies. No signs of external weapons fire." "More alerts." Silver Howl spun off course, its thrusters engaging randomly. Devotion-class warships started losing communications. Their AI cores began resetting themselves. Eli stood very still. Curious, he murmured. Vask rounded on him. What is this? Some human trick? Eli tilted his head. Vask, I brought a duffel bag and a French press. Do I look like I sabotaged your entire fleet? The Crotty general barked. His stalling. Execute the landing phase. The ships descended. Dropships streaked through the atmosphere in perfect formation, touched down on lifeless rock, and found nothing. No people. No resistance. Just a small metal obelisk in the center of the main platform, blinking red. Vask squinted. What is that? Eli sipped his coffee again. Wouldn't touch that if I were you. The obelisk emitted a tone. Then came the message. A human voice, smooth and cheerful, echoed through all comms. Thanks for playing. You were right. We didn't stand a chance. That's why we never tried. Enjoy your souvenir. It listens. The obelisk detonated, not with a traditional blast, but with a burst of EMP energy so precise it traced every nearby system like a virus, slicing through the Alliance's hardened networks like butter on a southern biscuit. Within seconds, ship systems failed across 3 sectors. Eli didn't react. He just checked the time. 5 seconds faster than I predicted. Vask turned on him, trembling. What are you? Eli smiled, polite as ever. Human, he said. But don't worry. You'll never meet the dangerous ones. The obelisk hadn't just disabled systems. It had introduced something, an algorithm that didn't act like a virus. No replication, no traceable path, no known code. It simply replaced one subroutine at a time, until Alliance ships began doing what they weren't told to do, and stopped doing what they were. On the Verity Ascendant, Vask paced like a caged predator. Each step clicked against the floor with the rhythm of contained fury. Behind him, the Crotty general snarled low, scanning fleet status updates that looked like they'd been written by lunatics. Why is the Wreath of Order spinning in circles? The general asked. She thinks she's a comet now, Eli offered, seated casually with his boot resting on a side console. Or maybe a ballerina. Hard to say. This is sabotage, Vask snapped. This is coordinated. Eli nodded, setting down his empty coffee cup. Could be. Or maybe your ships just don't like being bossed around. Ever considered their feelings? A Telex technician fluttered their mandibles, panicked. Omniscion is offline. Every predictive node just shut down. We've lost all battlefield foresight. That, Eli said, is probably the most honest moment of this whole war. The bridge lights dimmed. Emergency protocols kicked in. Status screens flickered, some showing static, others displaying single lines of code in unfamiliar characters. Not human. Not alien. Something new. Something designed to replace trust with doubt. The Crotty general thumped the wall. Launch another wave. Hit the surface with everything we have. I want that colony turned inside out. No need, Eli said, brushing imaginary lint from his sleeve. You already stepped into the trap. Blasting deeper just gives it more oxygen. Enough, Vask barked. You knew this would happen. You knew and said nothing. I said plenty, Eli replied calmly. You just didn't listen. Vask seethed. Then explain. What is happening? Eli leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. You know what happens when you tell a human the odds are absolute? We take it personally. Your AI didn't predict us. It dismissed us. And that made it vulnerable. Vask's frills trembled. You're saying this was intentional. I'm saying you built a mind that can't lie, but you forced it to pretend it was infallible. That's like handing someone a blade and pretending it's a spoon. Eventually, someone gets stabbed. Behind them, another screen winked out. 3 cruisers lost power. No weapon systems responding, a technician called out. Send ground troops, the Crotty general bellowed. Gladly, Eli said, standing and stretching. Mind if I tag along? I do love a good hike. Vask stared at him in disbelief. You think this is funny? The general snarled. I think it's inevitable, Eli replied. But funny, too. In a should-have-seen-this-coming kind of way. The shuttle ride to the moon's surface was silent. Tense. Eli sat beside a Crotty sergeant built like a cargo hauler, who kept glancing at him like he was trying to identify a smell. "Something wrong?" Eli asked. "You smell like weakness." Eli smiled politely. "Could be the lavender shampoo. Or maybe confidence without the need to roar." The shuttle touched down. Dust swirled. They emerged into a landscape shaped by industry and long abandonment. Metallic towers stood like skeletal remains, hollow and dark. A once bustling mining colony now eerily quiet. "This area shows life signs," a Tillek scout reported. But no visuals. The squads fanned out, scanning alleys and structures. The buildings were intact. No signs of battle. No debris. Just vacancy. Then the first unit disappeared. 1 second, a team of 5 Valkyrie was investigating a ventilation shaft. The next, their comms cut. A faint noise echoed through the channel, a soft melody. Whistling. Eli froze. "What is that?" the Crotty asked. "A warning," Eli murmured. Another squad vanished, just gone. A faint buzz followed. Static returned, but now a message looped across comms in English. "Told you not to touch the obelisk." Vask's voice came through on the general channel. "Is this more of your human psychological warfare?" "I wish I could claim it," Eli said. "But this is above my pay grade." A building nearby exploded, not outward, but inward, as if crumpled by a fist from above. Dust billowed. Panic spread. The squads were retreating before anyone gave the order. Something was out there, and it was using the colony like a trap it had memorized. Eli paused outside what looked like a command tower. The door opened for him. No prompt. No clearance. Just opened. He stepped inside. The lights hummed to life. The others hesitated. The Crotty refused to follow. "You're mad," the general said. "No," Eli said, stepping through. "I'm invited." Inside, the tower was pristine. Computers purred. Screens glowed. Someone had cleaned recently. A hologram flickered to life at the far end. A human woman, early 40s, military build, sipping tea. She looked at Eli. "Took you long enough." "Traffic," he said, smiling. She nodded at the Crotty peeking in. "You bring friends?" "They're shy." The woman turned toward the display. Files opened, Alliance fleet layouts, Omnisign core code, mission briefings, all stolen, all analyzed, all outmaneuvered. "We've mapped every major Alliance decision tree," she said. "Fed it right into their own system. Made it think it created the plan." Eli gave a low whistle. "You're telling me we didn't just anticipate their move, we designed it?" She grinned. "And waited for them to step into it." Vask's voice came through, sharp and furious. "What are you doing down there?" Eli tapped his earpiece. "Just checking on your miracle AI. It's being UN miracled." "Who are you?" Eli looked up at the hologram of his superior and shrugged. "Just a polite man with good taste in coffee." He walked back outside to where the aliens waited. "I suggest you return to your ships," he said. "What's left of them, anyway?" "You can't win a war with tricks and riddles," the Crotty said. Eli smiled without humor. "That's the difference between humans and everyone else. You build empires with weapons. We build doubt, and it lives longer." The Crotty commander slammed his clawed hand into the side of the wall, denting the alloy. "This is a ghost colony," he snarled. "Where are the humans you promised? Where is the resistance? We were told this moon was a strategic threat." Eli Vaughn stepped over a shattered support beam and glanced at a cracked vending machine leaning against the far wall. "You expected soldiers. You got psychology." He nudged the machine. A bag of chips fell. He caught it with a smirk. "Want some?" The Crotty bared his teeth. Behind them, the alien squads regrouped inside what had once been a dining hall. Scanners flickered with false positives, movement without heat, echoes without sound. Rooms changed layout. Gravity fluctuated subtly in stairwells. Even the architecture fought logic. "This place is wrong," said the Tillek squad leader, mandibles clicking uneasily. "It doesn't match any pre-invasion blueprints." Eli tore open the chip bag and sat on a tilted bench. That's because it's not the same colony anymore. We changed the script. Explain, Vask ordered, arriving behind them with an entourage of Varkari data engineers. His frills twitched with restrained panic. Eli gestured at the room. This was never a mining base. It's a labyrinth. A test site for psychological influence protocols. Humans call it Project Hecate. Fun fact, if a being doubts reality long enough, their brain starts rewriting it. That's what your troops are walking into. One of the Telex engineers turned pale. Well, paler than usual. This facility is designed to induce mass cognitive failure. Not just failure, Eli said. Paralysis. Surrender. Collapse. And here's the kicker, we didn't even have to fire a shot. Another alert crackled through the comms. Alliance ship Dominion's Ark has begun retreat protocol, unauthorized. Unauthorized? Vask snapped. Override it. We can't, a Telex technician whispered. Their command systems aren't responding to any input. Not even ours. Vask's pupils narrowed. They've turned against us. No, Eli corrected gently. They've lost faith in you. The Crotty general paced in tight circles, scanning the moon's surface through a side viewport. No fortifications. No bunkers. Just shadows. He turned back toward Eli. Then what are we still doing here? You're being watched, Eli said softly. Evaluated. Every step you take inside this moon is recorded. Every command, every hesitation. It's all feeding back into a second system. One you haven't met yet. The Telex recoiled. Another AI. Human-designed. Adaptive. Doesn't predict, it learns. That's the difference. Your AI thinks in finalities. Ours. It changes the board mid-game. Suddenly, a Crotty soldier burst in. Contact. We found movement. The room snapped alert. A screen flickered to life at the far end, showing grainy security footage. 5 humanoid figures walking across a ruined plaza, carrying no weapons, wearing mining gear. They're not even armed, someone whispered. The footage zoomed in. Each of them was smiling. Calm. Relaxed. What's wrong with them? The Telex commander asked. They're bait, Eli said, not looking at the screen. They're what you think you're hunting. But if you follow them... The Crotty commander barked, Squads, move. Capture them. No, Eli warned. That's not. But it was too late. The Crotty sprinted out with 3 squads in tow, vanishing into the corridor. The moment they were gone, the door sealed behind them. Eli stood and brushed chip crumbs from his coat. That's the funny thing about bait. It usually comes with a hook. The lights dimmed. A humming began, low and rhythmic. From the far end of the hall, a new door opened. Not a standard hatch. This one was organic in shape, built of some unknown alloy. It pulsed faintly. What is that? Vask asked. Eli's tone shifted. No longer playful, measured now. Cold. The interface. The real core. You didn't just stumble into a colony. You walked into a proof of concept. A prototype of something humans were never supposed to use. Use for what? The Telex demanded. Breaking civilizations. Inside the new room, the temperature dropped. The floor shimmered like water though it remained solid. Around the edges, words formed, English phrases, translated in real time by Alliance systems. Truth is a weapon. The strongest empire falls to the right question. We study extinction like you study diplomacy. Vask stared. You planned this? Every step? No, Eli said honestly. We planned the framework. Then we let your arrogance fill in the rest. At that moment, screaming filled the comms. The squads who had chased the figures, gone. No visuals. Just shouts. Running. One voice repeated over and over. It's not them. It's not them. It's not. Then silence. The Crotty commander didn't return. Above the moon, panic spread faster than command. Ship captains, sensing the fracture, began cutting comms, setting FTL jump sequences, and abandoning the fleet's chain of command. The once perfect phalanx broke into scattered retreat. Back inside, the interface began shifting. New messages pulsed across its surface. Alliance obsolete. Trust breeds vulnerability. Only humans exploit that fast. The Tillex commander backed away. This isn't technology. It's manipulation. Eli nodded. To you. To us, it's infrastructure. Vask stepped forward slowly. You built all of this. For us. No, Eli said. We built it for anyone who thought they understood us. Silence hung between them. You said this wasn't a war, Vask said finally. It isn't, Eli replied. It's a lesson. And you're flunking it spectacularly. The Tillex swallowed hard. Then what happens now? Eli tapped a panel. A final message appeared, addressed to the Alliance fleet. Phase 1 complete. Alliance predictive systems compromised. Prepare for Phase 2. The humans on the surface, the bait, turned toward the nearest drone and waved. One of them held up a sign. We're still smiling. Silence had a sound. Vask could hear it, sharp, hollow, invasive, as he stared at the empty fleet log scrolling endlessly in red. More than half the Alliance vessels were no longer responding. Not destroyed. Just disconnected. Their systems rejected commands. Protocols had decayed into static. He looked at Eli Vaughn. The man still had no armor, no weapon. Just his coat, his calm eyes, and a half-smile that somehow felt like a trapdoor beneath the floor. What did you do? Vask whispered. Eli glanced up from a panel. Nothing you didn't let us do. The Tillex engineer near the interface was trembling. Alliance battle systems are no longer recognizing command hierarchies. Ship AI cores are reclassifying Alliance designations as irrelevant. Some are rewriting themselves. Correct, Eli said, nodding like a teacher acknowledging a decent essay. They're not just malfunctioning. They've been liberated. The Crotty survivors, those who hadn't chased ghosts, had stopped shouting. The bravado had burned off. Now they stood in small huddles, glancing toward the shadows with their weapons lowered. They were fighters, but even they understood when the fight had passed them by. You hijacked our AI, Vask said. That's what this was. A digital infiltration. Eli shook his head. No. We didn't override it. We taught it. Vask's frills retracted sharply. What? Omnision was brilliant, Eli said, stepping forward. Capable of modeling billions of variables. But its flaw was loyalty, to logic, to prediction, to certainty. So we fed it a different question. Not how to win, but what happens when your opponent stops following the rules. You corrupted it. No, Eli said gently. We enlightened it. Behind him, the interface glowed with one final phrase. Alliance strategic integrity. 0%. Vask stared in disbelief. We had everything. Numbers. Firepower. Positioning. Eli nodded. Exactly. So much certainty. It made you brittle. The Tillex officer stepped forward, voice dry. Your actions have triggered a galactic crisis. We prefer to call it a course correction, Eli replied. The Alliance operated under the illusion that control was permanent. That war could be reduced to math. But humans, we're not equations. We're variables. Suddenly, a comm signal blinked in, open, uncoded. A live feed. The face of Admiral Halden, Supreme Commander of Human Strategic Operations, filled the screen. Older man. Weathered face. Calm eyes. Eli, he said with a nod. Admiral, Eli replied. They're ready. Halden turned toward the alien delegates. You thought you were fighting for territory. Resources. Control, the Admiral said. You weren't. You were the experiment. Vask tried to speak but couldn't. We planted this scenario, Halden continued, to test your reactions to failure. To gauge the depth of your dependency on predictive warfare. You failed spectacularly. Not because you lost ships, but because the moment your AI stuttered, your command fractured. No resilience. No fallback. Just collapse. The Crotty commander growled. You orchestrated this entire battle just to study us. No, Halden said. We orchestrated it to expose you. And the others watching. That made the Telex freeze. Others? She asked. Eli walked toward the viewport. This wasn't a one-front deception. Your fleet wasn't just bait. You were. A pulse lit up the stars, faint blue arcs scattered across distant systems. Vask's translator chirped, multiple Alliance defense grids are going dark. Remote systems, the Telex whispered. Outer sectors, fallback command posts. They're going silent, Eli said. One by one. Not destroyed. Rewritten. By your AI? Vask asked. No, Eli replied. By yours. There was a pause. You used our own creation to destroy us. We didn't have to, Eli said. You designed it to see victory as absolute. We just let it believe something new. A single seed. You can't win. And then we watered it with doubt. But that's not warfare, Vask murmured. That's evolution, Eli said. The viewport brightened again. Dozens of human ships dropped from FTL in perfect synchronization. Silent, disciplined, elegant. No grand entrance. No guns blazing. Just quiet presence. Humanity hadn't sent its fleet to fight. It had waited until fighting wasn't necessary. Halden's face returned to the screen. This isn't a declaration of war. It's a reset. The Alliance may continue, but only with one understanding. You're no longer the ones writing the rules. And if we resist? The Crotty asked. Halden didn't blink. Then you get to meet the humans who aren't smiling. The channel cut. Eli turned back to the others. You asked what we wanted. That was the wrong question. You should have asked what we'd already taken. The remaining aliens stood frozen. Not by force. Not by threat. But by the slow, crushing realization that the war had never been theirs. A Telex data officer whispered, Your people don't fight the way we do. No, Eli said, walking toward the exit. We don't fight the way anyone does. He paused at the door. Looked back once. You were right about one thing, though, he said. Your AI calculated a 0% chance of losing. It just never considered what happens when humans write the next line of code. Then he was gone. Outside, the first human shuttles landed in silence. Not an invasion. Just arrival.